So I grew up watching Johnny Carson occasionally when I would stay up late enough, and my parents would let me stay up late enough to see a little bit of him on TV. And I still remember when Johnny Carson left The Tonight Show, he had retired, and this guy who had guest hosted a lot of times, we knew who he was, but he was going to be the new full-time host of The Tonight Show, Jay Leno. I guess Jay Leno was sort of the new era of The Tonight Show. He was kind of modernizing things, bringing in a younger audience. And I just thought, well, another cool guy hosting The Tonight Show. And then I found out he was a really big car guy as I grew up and kind of got into car stuff myself. And I thought that was certainly intriguing about him. I mean, I knew Johnny Carson had loved cars, but he wasn't massive car collector, not like Jay Leno. So, that was something that was always sort of tangentially interesting to me about Jay Leno. Not only was he sort of a superstar, standout comedian, if you ask all the other comedians, apparently, in interviews that I've seen, David Letterman, a lot of these guys that were sort of occupying the same space all point to Jay Leno and say, oh yeah, back in the stand-up days, Jay Leno was always the guy that was just like out there head and shoulders above everyone else. So certainly he was a success in that right. He was able to hold that position as host of The Tonight Show for many, many years, very successfully. A lot of controversy toward the ending of that with the battle between, him and David Letterman for that spot, and then him and Conan O'Brien to take over that spot when he left. I think a lot of that's unfortunate because from what I understand, Jay Leno he was certainly successful and he's a very nice guy. But the fact that he's a very well-known automotive enthusiast, has an amazing collection, and goes to car shows and just talks to regular people. Regular people like me, he'll actually come up to you and have a conversation about, whatever it is you have. If you have questions for him, he'll take the time to answer them. So I thought, wow, what a cool guy and what a great person to try and get involved in our documentary. We are putting together a documentary on the birthplace of the Camaro and Firebird Trans Am, which was the Norwood Assembly Plant in Norwood, Ohio. And thought, what better face to put into this? An attraction for people to click on it and watch it than Jay Leno. Everyone knows him as a car enthusiast. He's certainly been successful in his career. He's a celebrity. Everybody knows who he is. I need some faces in this documentary. So we had already been fortunate enough to get an interview with Burt Reynolds, which was amazing. We were able to get an interview with him. It was one of the last interviews he actually did on the subject before he had passed. But I thought, Jay Leno is really somebody that I would love to get to give us just a little bit of color for this documentary. Set the context. Tell us maybe how important the F-body was in the history of automotive. I had set my sights on getting an interview with Jay Leno for this documentary. And I've been a video producer, video director for many, many years, but I work in the commercial world, which is very different than the entertainment world. We're typically doing corporate and commercial video for companies that are kind of in the area where we're from, which is in the Cincinnati, Ohio area. Occasionally we've done some shoots in LA and other places that are sort of closely, geographically close to Hollywood, but not a lot of overlap into the entertainment world. So my sphere of connections really to get to Jay Leno, even though I work in the video industry, were not really through the entertainment industry. It was more through the car hobby. I had met several people through the course of making this documentary and just going to car shows who had said, oh yeah, I've got a friend who knows Jay Leno. Oh, it's interesting. I love this story you're putting together. Yeah, I think I could help you out with that. I think I know a guy who knows Jay Leno. And I had probably talked to 7 or 8 people who said that to me. First person that said that to me, I was like, this is great. I'm going to get an interview with Jay Leno. Nothing ever came of it. So, by the 7th or 8th person that says that, you kind of just say, okay, that's great. Thanks for the offer. Just let me know. If that works out, great. Through a connection with the Trans Am National show, which is a show I try and go to every year. It's in Dayton, Ohio. It's very close to Cincinnati. It's an easy drive up. I've made a lot of really good friends through that show and the car clubs that host it. People come in from all over the world for that show. So one of the organizers of that show, again, he was somebody that said, I love the story you're putting together. I actually know somebody who knows Jay Leno. I might be able to help. So I thanked him very much for that. I said, that's great. I love the fact that you're willing to put stick your neck out for me. Try and connect me with somebody that could get to Jay Leno. But again, not holding my breath. I did know, though, that this guy, Scott Scheel is his name, tremendous guy. If you are into automotive, especially if you're into Firebirds and Trans Ams, he'll do anything to help you. He's a fantastic individual. The fact that he was actually offering to bring in a personal connection to vouch for me to try and connect me to Jay Leno, I was flattered. But again, not holding my breath. A little bit of time goes by. Trans Am Nationals wrap up that year. We're back, getting back to business as usual. I have a small video production company. A partner and I, we meet fairly regularly with our accountant and just kind of go over numbers and see if there are areas we can improve things, talk about how expensive labor rates are and all those things that we have to pay as business owners. But anyway, we were going out to lunch with him just to kind of talk over our financials. And I don't know if I think it's just people in general, but especially as a business owner, I just get a lot of sort of random solicitor calls, people trying to sell us services, people trying to sell XYZ, anything. So I get this phone call while we're out to lunch, and it's kind of a loud restaurant. So I look at the phone, it says unknown. So I'm like, oh, this is probably a spam call. So I just let it go to voicemail. I'm like, I'll check it later. Most of the time when you get those spam calls, they don't even leave a voicemail. Let it go. Don't pick it up. We continue our conversation. I feel a buzz in my pocket, so I pull it out. Someone had left a voicemail. Oh, okay, interesting. So I click on it, look at the transcription, and it starts with, hey, this is Jay Leno, and then goes on to say some other stuff. I think all the blood like just drained out of me for like a split second, because here I am out at lunch with my accountant, which is an important conversation, but I'd been trying for years to get in touch with Jay Leno. He calls, leaves me a voicemail that I don't pick up when he calls. And I think, okay, that's great. I've missed my shot. I've missed my shot to talk to Jay Leno. Lightning doesn't strike twice. He's not calling me back. So I step outside, listen to the voicemail. It's like, hey, this is Jay Leno. I heard from a friend of mine that you want to talk to me about this story you're doing. That sounds really interesting. I mean, yeah, I'll talk to you. Just, I'll call you back later. Here I am, just, like excited, but also very defeated, because I'm like, well, I still don't know how to get in touch with him. He's left me a voicemail from a blocked number. I don't know how to get back in touch with him. So we go wrap up. I explain what happened. I said, look, guys, you can hang out as long as you want at lunch. I got to go back to the office and get somewhere quiet, because if he calls back, I'm not missing this call again. So wrap up, get on back to the office. I think an hour or two went by, and I can't focus on anything because I just keep looking at my phone. My phone is literally out in front of me with the screen turned on, just waiting. I'm waiting by the phone, and it rings. It rings again. It's an unknown number. So I think, okay, great. So I pick it up, and it is Jay Leno. He said, hey, yeah, it's Jay Leno. Heard you want to talk to me. I'm like, I'm so sorry I missed your call. Yes, please, can I talk to you? Explain to him what we're doing. And it turns out, the interesting thing, like he's a super nice guy, willing to talk about car stuff for as long as you want to talk about it and as long as he has time for. And I explain what we're doing, and he's like, yeah, I don't really know if I'm the best guy to talk to for this. I'm not really a big F-body guy. I've got one Trans Am that a buddy of mine kind of got me to buy. It's a 2002. I just figured I might as well get one before they, go away forever. But I'm not really an F-body guy. I don't even have a Camaro. At this point, I'm like, okay, he's not interested. I've got to figure out a way to get him interested. I don't know what I'm going to say, so I just start talking. And I said, Mr. Leno, you're such an icon in the automotive world. I think it would just be great if you could just give us some context on the significance of muscle cars in general. If we could just get somebody of your stature to just give us a little bit of color on just what is the significance of the muscle car in American car culture. And whatever it is I said, I think it was something like that. He said, oh, okay, sure, why not? So that's how that conversation happened. And I said, okay, well, I want to make this easy for you. I would totally be willing to come to you and have this conversation, totally willing to come out. It'd be great if we could do this maybe with some of your cars in the background. You don't even have to leave your place. I'll just come out and we'll set up. Because I would love to go see Jay Leno's garage. So I'm trying to paint this as like, I'll do you a favor. I'd love to, I'll make it easy for you. And he says, oh, no, you don't need to do that. That's a long way to travel. Don't worry about that. I'm going to be doing a stand-up tour this year. I'm coming through Ohio. We'll just meet up when I come through Ohio, and we can do it there. And I said, okay, that's fine. Whatever you want, Mr. Leno. I was a little disappointed that I wasn't going to get to go and see him in his garage. I still have not been able to see his car collection, but He did agree to, give me his producer's contact information and said, yeah, just follow up with her. She's great. We'll set it up when I'm coming through. We'll just, we'll meet up ahead of time and I'll answer your questions. And we had a more conversation about what his interest was, I guess, in F-bodies or lack thereof. So as we were talking about, sort of the appropriateness of what his comments would be in our documentary, since he's not a big F-body guy, he said, the only F-body I've really been interested to get of that early, late 60s muscle car era would be the Firebird Sprint. You know what I'm talking about, right? And I'd heard of the Firebird Sprint, but I didn't really know exactly what that was. So I said, no, please tell me about it. He said, what, you're a Pontiac guy? You don't know about this? So, he's giving me a hard time, which I took as a good thing. I think, a little razzing between car enthusiasts is always good. That means that you're making a connection. But he goes on to talk to me about one of John DeLorean's big projects, pet projects in launching the Firebird platform was this overhead cam 6-cylinder version of the Firebird, which was the Pontiac Sprint. And it was, a much lighter weight engine, which reduced the weight of the whole car. Really, sporty, zippy performance. It was just a really nice handling, really, peppy car. Again, I'd heard a little bit about it, but I didn't know a lot of details about it. And he told me a lot of the history of that and said that he had thought, maybe at one time or another, maybe he should go and look out for one. Fast forward, he actually has a video on his channel. After we did our interview, he actually went out and found one. So I feel like maybe our time together, our conversation together, maybe that was what it took to actually get him inspired to go out and find one and make one his. So I feel like in some way I added a car to Jay Leno's fleet. We fast forward to the comedy show, kind of the same response that I got from his producers I've gotten through a lot of people when I've tried to track down people of note to interview. A lot of calls to them and not a lot of calls back to me. So I call his producer, send her emails, nothing's coming up. I did find out the date that he was going to be in Columbus, Ohio, which is just a couple hours up the road. And that date's getting pretty close. We're within a month or two out. And I just said, okay, well, I got to get this. He's given me her info. I mean, he wants me to call her. So I just started increasing the frequency of which I start to call her. So I'm calling her like every other day. Finally do get a hold of her and she says, oh yeah, sorry, things are just really busy here. We've just got a lot of stuff going on, but definitely we're going to get you taken care of. So she said, send me a question list. Tell me how long you think this is going to take. And I said, well, really ideally we would just like maybe 20 minutes. And she said, how about 15? I think we can get you 15 minutes with them. And I said, okay, that's fine. We'll start with the high priority questions and work our way down from there. And whatever we have time for, we'll just cut it off when he says, I've had enough. We sat down with him. We went in, got set up. He showed up, came down, looked at some of the stuff that we had brought in about the story we were telling and said, hey, this is really great. I love this stuff. Like, yeah, so let's sit down, tell him, just ask me what you want to know. So he talked to us for a solid hour before his comedy show, and he didn't have to do that. But, he could see that we were automotive enthusiasts, that were interested in story, interested in finding out information from him about, what his input would be into the muscle car story in general. And he actually gave us some of the best comments that we've had for the documentary, even though he said that he didn't think he would be the best person to fit the subject matter. Of course, he's got a wide variety of subjects he can cover in automotive. He can speak to it generally. He can speak to it.
Right now, we've got the best deal we've ever offered from Avalon King. Their AS9 DIY ceramic coating is $30 off at the link in the description below, making it the best value in the world of ceramic coatings. They've also got half off of their IPA prep spray if you want that as well. It makes it so much easier to put the coating on, to level it out, and get the shine that you're looking for. One box is enough for a small to medium-sized car, maybe two if you've got a big SUV, and really anybody can coat an entire car in about an hour and a half. So check them out now at the link in the description below to thank them for their support of VINwiki and make your car look incredible with Avalon King.